finishing that interview with Amanda, and how she's so committed to taking care of her body, her health and well-being, and she's got little kiddos. I just finished a coaching session with a young man, an adult, but a young man, and how when the confidence goes down, the eating habits kind of go out the window, and then that doesn't support gut biome, right? Gut health, and how that affects our hormones and our mood, and it just all so friggin' connected, right? And he's this young man that I'm working with, like, maybe having one meal a day was a stretch. Like, I'm like, what do you eat? Kind of crap. And now he's like having 3 meals a day. He's doing so well. So one thing at a time. I don't want to overwhelm him. But as I was thinking, this magic mind that I have every single morning, I'm staying at their house. He sees me. He's like, "What's that green thing you drink in the morning?" And so he's curious. So I said, "Oh well, it's Magic Mind, and it says it's subtly sweet, sharper mind, lower stress, better energy, reclaim your brain." And he goes, "I have brain fog." So I'm like, "Oh, why don't you try this?" So, one thing at a time. We're building on our wins, but I want him to be able to try this. So I told him what I'm going to tell you, which is this beautiful company, magicmind.com/intimate conversations. And then you put in the code intimate conversations 20 and you get 20% off, whether you want to do like a one-time give it a go or whether you want to do a subscription. I mean, I've been on it for over a year now. I don't like life when I don't have it. That's just the truth. I don't like waking up in the morning and not having it first thing. I personally don't drink it like a shot, although you can. I like to have it like a whole drink with my ginger, my cinnamon, and hot water. And it's this whole ritual of starting my day, being grateful, starting my day, focusing on my truth, my heart's wisdom. And this has become part of my Magic Mind morning. So I'm also in time going to introduce it to this young man as he starts to feel better and has a healthier body and healthier mood, healthier attitudes. It's such an honor to be the safe space for him to tell me really what's going on inside and how step by step we're getting him back on track. It is so fulfilling. So I wouldn't say I normally work with young men or young women. I generally have clients in their, I'd say 30s, 40s, 50s is the 60s would be like the main. 40s, 50s, 60s is probably the main. But man, how rewarding it is to work with such a young whippersnapper with not as much trauma under his belt, and to shift things young. God, I wish I'd started all this earlier, but it is what it is. It's all good, but it's very, very inspiring. All right, so I love you so much. Thanks for being with us with this incredible conversation from Amanda and I on Intimate Conversations podcast. I love you. Welcome to Intimate Conversations. Become the one. Intimacy is an inside job.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Stevens, and I am a certified Allana Pratt Method Coach. And I came to know Allana, like many of you, through her podcast. At that time in my life, my marriage was in shambles, and me and my husband were not sure if it was salvageable or if we even wanted to salvage it. So at that point, we reached out to Allana, decided to get some insight, and then decided to do this thing. If you want to hear more about our story, you can find it under Client Stories, Amanda and Brandon, and the Healing Tools That Work. So for us, Allana was one of the only people that believed in our marriage and our individual healing and growth. And because of that work with Allana, we are now thriving and raising 2 kids. And this inner work led me to want to become a coach myself. And I'm excited and privileged to dive deep today with Allana and learn more about her background, her methods, her insights, and her love for healing and helping viewers, listeners, and readers. So, hey, Allana, how are you?
I'm like crying already. Like we're ruining my makeup right out of the gate. Oh, I fucking love you. It is
I love you too.
It's the greatest honor to love you and Brandon and your family. And
Thank
you're
you.
having such a gorgeous hair day. Your hair looks like so good. It's so
I don't
beautiful.
normally look like this, that's for sure.
It's all zhuzhed. You look so
With two
gorgeous,
kids and a crazy life, for sure.
right? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for taking time to be with me today.
Yes.
I love you.
Thank you for letting me have the honor to just ask you questions and dig in. So, with that, would you share with us a little bit more about your background and then what in your life experience makes you confident that you can help other people have a fulfilled life of intimacy?
Thank you. I have all the certifications. I've got like 20, 25 years of certifications. I'm also like a smart cookie cum laude graduate of an Ivy League school. They said you need a book, so I wrote 7. So I try to do like the credible things that sort of stop the questioning ego of like
Mhm.
connecting with me. So that's probably like stage 1. Stage 2 is I do my best to be transparent and vulnerable with my own journey and to make it safe for others that no one's going to be judged around here. Nobody's perfect around here. And we all have the capacity to use the greatest challenges as the catalyst for our greatest evolution. So for me, I wanted to find the one and then I'd be good enough, right? So that was like husband number 1. And then I became like, I don't need that. I'm a badass bitch boss girl, whatever. Like, so I was all in charge with the second marriage, which was really the same wound, just the other side of the coin, right? Because that didn't work. So 2 divorces, and then mom dies. And then a 15-year custody battle, and then a criminal assault boyfriend who, I kept with it until he pleaded guilty, which is terrifying. Communities were turned against me and defamation campaigns and shut down 2 companies. And it was just like a shit show. And through it all, I shared vulnerably with you, with the whole community, with all the
And yeah,
clients.
yes, I feel like out of every coach or just person out there, I've never got to just hear your story. Like, meaning, like, I've never got to hear their story as much as I hear your story. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, just how vulnerable you are, the videos you send out to us in your newsletter, just kind of keeping us updated. Like, you really do make us feel like we're a part of your life and that we're getting the intimate details and that you're sharing those struggles. And
Yeah.
it is because of that that I think that I felt confident enough to be like, okay, if she's going through it and still has all this insight, there's got to be hope for
Thank
sure.
you. Yeah. So as I grow and learn, I share in real time what I'm learning.
Yes.
And I have
Yeah.
coaches. Like I always have 3 or 4 coaches. So I can't see my blind spots either. So I'm not any better than anybody that I'm coaching. I might be a few steps ahead. And I'm doing the work. So there's no excuses for anyone to not take ownership, to dive in, to
Yeah.
open their hearts and to learn. And I guess this is the bottom line, learn to love the shit out of ourselves, no matter what.
Yeah. That was hard for me. That
It
was
is.
really hard. But it's been kind of crazy because I definitely have had better boundaries with people and family in my life that I never had before. We
Uh-huh.
talked about perfectionism. I remember that and how like as a female and growing up in I was grown up in the Christian world and just the perfection that like has on me sometimes. And I still have my faith, but I don't have to feel like I have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
fail and it's okay. And I'm going to love myself through it. And my husband's going to fail and that's okay. We're going to love them through it. My kids are going to fail. Like nothing is perfect. Like perfect isn't even in our definition anymore.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I love that too. And I love that every quote unquote failure is really just another step closer to success. Or
Yeah.
the whole thing we could call, it's not about failure or success, it's just about the journey. And
Yeah.
it's not about the destination, it's literally about the journey. Like everything that happens, a celebration or a challenge is all for our growth, if that's the point of view we have. And when we do this in community and we share
Yeah.
vulnerably and we celebrate each other and we all sit in the pile of shit together and cry together or get angry together or whatever we do, it's so safe. I mean,
Yeah.
I selfishly, I've created this company as my family. Like I just don't have this kind of intimacy with the general public, but I do every single day, all day long with all of you. And I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I think that's crazy. I can't imagine like being so vulnerable all the time. And you
Well,
show up. You do a ton of calls every day. You do one-on-ones, you do
yeah,
interviews
8
with other
calls today.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the beginning, or maybe you're mid because we're like somewhere in the middle of the day for you, but
No, I still
like,
got this is my first call of 8. So,
okay,
but
like, so this is perfect,
I like being vulnerable because I don't have to forget what I lied about and what I told the truth about. I just tell the truth
right?
all the time. I just have
Yes, that's,
nothing to hide, nothing to remember. It's just be present, be authentic,
yeah.
all day long.
So when you're showing up for yourself, um, how does showing up for yourself and what does that kind of look like? And then what does that translate into your clients? Like, what can a client expect when beginning to work with you?
Mm. I'm going to always encourage self first. In the 3D world, I don't know about you, but we did like selfish, selfless, selfish, selfless, and there was just like no win. You know, we were always on the losing side of the battle. But when we ascend to 5D, there's another way we could call it self firstness, like wholeness and taking care of ourselves so that from the overflow we give, not out of obligation, or coercion or strategy or agenda or all these other reasons I used to give or not give. When I'm
Right.
whole, I can hear my my heart is open. I'm completely present and I give authentically of my truth. And so self firstness this morning, for example, looked like I worked out with my trainer. I sat on the dock and I journaled.
Nice.
I fixed a graphic with the guy in India, my social media guy. It was like still not right. And I went through the document. The document was wrong. And like, so I did a little work, which normally I try not to do in the morning, but this is what happens when your team is on the other side of the planet and you've got
Yeah.
deadlines. So it was a little bit of work. It was a lot of self-care. It was incense and candles. It was snuggling with
Mhm.
my cat. It was a little self-pleasuring when I first woke up. Like this is like, and a little makeup and zhuzhing. This is self-care to be present with you. If that thing with work wasn't handled, that would be back there. If I hadn't
Mhm.
worked out my body, I would still be, energy would still be held in various places. So yeah, that's an example of how I take care of me, and I ask you to take care of you so that when we show up for life, for these calls that we do, but for the way you are with your husband, your kids, if you don't take care of you, it's that oxygen mask thing that they all talk about. Then you
Yeah.
can't be present, playful, patient, with your family.
That's, oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah.
Especially when you have, especially when you have littles. Like, I think for me, when we started having children, I really lost like who I was and what
Mm.
does that look like? And that showed up in ways that were super unhealthy in my marriage. Sorry about the fly. There's just this fly
Got a
flying
friend.
around.
Got a friend.
And yes, I remember like when we would discuss like things about like trying to take a walk like just by myself. And I was like, how am I supposed to do that? And I even remember when I finally decided to do it, and my husband was like, why don't you take the dog? And at some point I was like, no, I don't want anything. I don't want a dog with me. I don't want the kids with me. I just need to walk, have my music, because for me, music is huge in my life,
Mhm.
and just let it hit my soul and my body. And then I would come back and I would feel a ton better, like 10 times better. And then I
Right.
started taking pole classes. And that's for me. That's
Yes.
for me. I love taking pole classes. It just enlightened, I just embody like the sexuality that I didn't believe I had.
Yeah.
Right. Like that was a huge thing for me when I came to your first retreat. I didn't understand what sexuality looked like as a mother, as a wife, as a woman who was a Christian and told that sex was bad, um, as a female. And so it's been a true delight to just watch you do all the things. Like I know you go paddleboarding, that's a love of yours that helps you embody your body. I know you
Yeah.
dance, and then you said you worked with your trainer. Um, I think that people don't understand just how important that is. And that's
Oh,
a belief system
yeah.
that we have about ourselves. Are we worth it?
Yeah.
And we don't understand that we may not even believe that we think we're not worth it, if that makes sense. Like
Oh,
until
100%.
we have these conversations.
Yeah. Even my trainer last week, so I've worked with her for 3.5 years or so. And I had been going all of, so we're recording this in September. So the month prior I was going all of August. And we get to our first, because I'd been gone. So we get to our first training and then I start crying. And she knows enough after working with me for 3 years that the body holds stored emotions. The body keeps the score. And when we were doing these squats on my right side, my masculine side, and I was kicking ass, and we went on to my left side, wobbly as fuck. And I started to get lightheaded and the tears started to come, but she knows me enough now. She's not just like a personal trainer. She has embraced her own intuitive gifts by working with me. And she's like, oh, sit your ass down. We're crying right now. And I'm like, I need to cry. And I hadn't stopped running, serving, giving.
Yeah.
So my workout session last week was crying for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And listen and letting the tension in my body that was holding all the tears release. My lower back was hurting. Why? Because I was scared. Why? Because I needed to cry. Right.
Yeah.
So today we kicked ass, we worked out, but each were equally valuable because I was slowing down to be me.
Well, and like you said, like when you cry, you're releasing it, like you just said, from your muscle. So then the next time when the issue is no longer in that tissue, if you will,
That was good.
that it it actually will love what you're doing for it.
Totally.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to think of it like that, but like you've released it, you let it had its say, you've let it move out of the body, and now the muscle is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm open. I'm ready to be filled with hard work and love and to strengthen. And so I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool.
And I listened as well because the reason she was so upset was she was tired because I hadn't built in days off. I came back and I just go, go, go. I get into this enthusiasm thing. I just love to do what I do. And I hadn't built in downtime. So my trainer said to me, she goes, so did you build in the downtime that the left side of your body was crying about last week? I go, yes, I did. I built in my Sundays off. Like sometimes it's just hard for me to take a day off when the to-do list is so long. But I said, yes, I did. And
I understand that.
So, so self-firstness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. So as long as we're talking a little bit about issues in the tissues and like that sort of thing, I know that you have been investing more time in doing PSIs. Sorry, this fly dynamic. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what a PSI is and how the benefits that you did, because you've also done PSIs and now you're helping other people do PSIs, and what that can, like what you can get out of that type of like therapy.
Yeah. So PSI, psychedelic somatic integration. You can go to psychedelicsomatic.org. There's a whole body of wisdom, of maps, trials, where we've discovered that if we call it tier 1 is the body, and tier 3 is when we leave the body, go into unity consciousness, psychedelics like ayahuasca or psilocybin would be like tier 3. Tier 1 work is where all of the trauma is still held in our body. Triggers are still unprocessed, unintegrated in our body. And as much as we know in tier 3 that we're all one and all is love, Allana keeps attracting sociopaths and things like this, or whatever. So it's like, what's going on? So it's not my brain. My brain is super clever. My intention, my heart are super open and pure, but my body is still hypervigilantly looping, or was hypervigilantly looping in this trauma response, which was like, gotta be safe. Where's the abuser to survive? And so my energy, my frequency, my resonance, which is maybe 90% of who I am as a vibrational being, was looking for abusers personally and professionally. Even though 5 to 10% of me wanted a healthy relationship, healthy investors, I didn't track that. And so this PSI work is a tool. It's not a quick fix. In fact, the real work begins after the PSI. It's just like an accelerator to get out of the mind. Everybody just wants to figure it out. If I could just figure it out, I'll be safe. If I figure it out, I'll be good enough. If I figure it out, they'll like me, blah, blah, blah. It's all the figure out stuff. And that gets in the way. That's called our secondary consciousness. It gets in the way. And it's only 5 or 10% of who we are. It's out of the medicine and the way we use this tier 1 work, where it's a very low dose of medicine. You're not high. You don't check out. You don't leave. You're in your body talking to me the whole time, blindfolded. And we follow body sensation and emotion. And just like we said a minute ago when I was working out, my right side was holding fear and sadness and a message. So when we integrate these emotions, so I help people feel emotions and feel body sensations, and medicine is not required for this. Psychedelic medicine is not required. It's just a great tool to help people get the hang of how to feel and how to stay in their body, right? Because then after, in group calls, private calls, retreats, etc., I'm doing the same thing I do in a PSI.
Yeah.
But I'm just helping people stay in their body and feel. And here's the key. The body, we've heard the statements, the body keeps the score. But the
Yeah.
body also knows how to get us home, how to get our autonomic nervous system home. We don't need to force it, push it, figure it out, nothing. Just surrender. And the body knows exactly how to bring us back to what's called zero, still point, wholeness,
Hmm.
this feeling of, I wouldn't even say joy for no reason, just like I am and everything's okay in
Yeah.
the body. And no one and no thing can take that away from you when that particular trauma has been integrated. And there's many traumas that we hold over, I believe, this lifetime and other lifetimes. So I have the blessing of having gone through this protocol, which ended the attract the really unhealthy guy syndrome, or it ended the, oh, sure, I'll believe in you. Sure, I'll give you hundreds of thousands of dollars of which you took and never gave back, and all that, like all those behaviors that
Yeah.
was I was doing my best. I'm not stupid, but these
Right.
programs run the show. And I got to say, there's so many people out there who feel stupid, who wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm intelligent. I've got great expectations and intentions. And I still keep attracting cheaters, abusers, emotionally unavailable people. I still can't get through to my husband. I still can't get
Yeah.
through to my wife, right?
Hmm.
In the body. And when that
Yeah.
gets created, there's awareness, wisdom. It's not just like you get rid of the fear. There's a
Right.
message in that. There's a gift in that. There's an evolutionary experience that was meant to be integrated into you being a more evolved, ascended soul. So people get wiser faster. They have these quantum leaps in results. And then as a community, when we share about these different breakthroughs and nonlinear jumps and quantum leaps of this somatic integration, the whole group, because we're all quantum entangled, we all like learn together. We feel each other's bodies, we feel each other's souls, we feel each other's hearts. And somehow we all get better together faster than we would on our own, which
Yeah.
is the magic of the collective genius, which is really delicious and fun.
So would you say that that's kind of like a small version of what we did on the last retreat that I was with you? We
Oh,
were
when
blindfolded in that room.
yeah. And
Okay.
you did very well. You say a lot, Ms. Allana Pratt Method Certified Coach. You say a lot that you have trouble feeling. And in the beginning you did. You just wanted to figure it
Yeah.
out in your head. But
I
once you got
wanted it to make sense. Yes.
correct,
Yeah.
because that it quieted the ego down. But
Right.
once you got the hang of it and you started to trust your body and stop being
Hmm.
at war with your body and become best friends with your body, you learned to feel so much better
Yeah.
and integrated emotions so much more quickly and became more present and confident and sexy and all the things. So yeah, when we did that at the retreat, are you talking in Arizona or you mean,
Um, I'm talking in Mexico, in
oh, you're
Cabo.
talking, so you're talking the psilocybin journey. That's different.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that
So
different? Okay.
that's a different journey. So that one you were on your own. There
Yes. Well,
was
I knew I just was, yeah, I
So
knew
that's
we
a
were
tier
doing,
3
okay.
experience with psilocybin with multiple facilitators in the room, but I wasn't talking to you
No.
and I wasn't asking you to talk with me the whole time. And it was more medicine. So you had the ability to more easily go out to tier 3 than
Yeah.
the amount of medicine I use in PSIs. It was still a very beautiful experience,
Yes.
just designed for something different, designed for
Okay.
more of your
Well, because the
soul's
PSIs are
purpose.
one-on-one for like a couple days, which is very different than when you're on a retreat. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get to all of us in a PSI. So it's kind of like a combo healing, I guess you could say, where we all took
Yeah.
our journey, but we did it
Yes.
together. We
Correct.
did
We
it
did
in a
it
safe space.
yes.
And I will have to say, I remember coming out of that. And that was the first time I think I had felt relaxed in years.
Oh, sweetie.
And yeah, and then we had a little break, and I remember me and my husband went back to like the hotel to take our little break before I think we went to dinner or something. And I got in the water and I was like, oh, I finally feel like I can relax.
Yeah.
I finally feel like I'm on vacation, that it's okay, that everything that we just talked about, everything that we just went through is going to be fine. Like we're
Yeah.
going to, I mean, there's still work to do. There's always work to do.
Yes.
And, we still had a lot of talking and communication, me and Brayden, that we needed to do and figure out.
Yes.
But it was the first time that I felt relief in the sense of like, okay, we can do this.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that was super cool. And I learned
Oh,
a little bit more about myself. Do you remember that with the goddess talk or whatever? Because I was
y-
still struggling, even though this was my second retreat. I'd come a long way and I've been doing my pole classes, but I was still struggling with that mindset of like goddess like mentality or like the presence of goddess or like that sort of thing. And I remember being in that chair outside during the process for me. And I just remember having this conversation, which I believe was a past me. Um, that kind of came to me and was just kind of like, she told me, goddesses do not apologize for who they are. You will never meet a god or a goddess who ever says, I'm so sorry for being a god or goddess. Never, not once.
Nope.
So stop apologizing for who you are. Stop apologizing for wanting to feel and be appreciated and to appreciate into all of that. Like just stop apologizing for your existence because why? Like
Yes.
you're a goddess.
Yes.
Emanate that. And
Yes.
so that has been something I've always carried with me after that second retreat too. Is like if I feel like I'm apologizing or Brandon's like, stop apologizing, I like go right back into like, you're right. Goddesses don't apologize. We show
Right.
up, we serve, we take um what I would call like if there's something going on that we're not doing correctly, we take that, we don't internalize it, we look at how we can fix it, we do a back and forth, maybe with dyads. You teach us about dyads, and
Mm.
then we come together as a mutual team and figure out the best possible way to go forward. But we never apologize for just like being us.
Being human, being a goddess.
Yeah.
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 I remember after that journey, I remember you being outside in the sun and moving. I'm
Yes.
like, God, she is a goddess. And then we went to that island, we went kayaking. You guys fell
Oh,
in the water, but that's okay.
yeah.
We'll worry about that. But getting those photos of the two of you,
Oh, that was
the
fun.
videographer was there capturing you and your goddessness on those gorgeous rocks. And then the
Yes.
costume night as you adorned yourself, like
Oh,
you
yeah.
owned your curves and you owned your beauty.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, is this okay? There was none of that outside in, checking in thing. You were just
Right.
exuding radiance. And it was, you are breathtaking now and then.
Thank you. I mean, obviously it's still a struggle, but I definitely have been learning to love myself in the body that I have as I continue to work on the body that I have. Right. Like, and
Yeah.
that's a whole different type of mindset that I've been learning how to do, like with
Yeah.
you and my past and trauma and stuff. Cause I grew up that I had to be perfect. And so it took a long time. And I integrated that so often, like all the time of like, oh, well, if I'm not this or whatever, or I have to look this way, and so I've gotten through a lot. And now we're finally on the piece that I've struggled with the most with my body and how I perceive her. And then coming into those, what does it look like to be healthy? Okay. And how would a healthy person act? And what thoughts and talks have I had about myself where I've identified myself as like, well, I'm just the fat friend, right?
Mhm.
Don't ever, people, if you're listening, like, don't ever call yourself the F word. Don't ever, I hate that word, but like, don't internalize that.
Mm.
Be who you want to be. If you want to be healthy and strong, then go out and be healthy and strong. Figure out a way. Get
Mm.
help, get mentors. Like, you're not going to do it on your own. I don't care how much information you have. You need
Yeah.
help. We all
Yeah.
do. We all do.
Partnership, mentorship, community. And I'd say the first step in all of that beautiful journey of the actions that you're taking and the new ways that you're speaking to yourself and choices that you're making was to stop hating you now.
Yeah.
That
And
none
that
of
was
that's going
hard.
to work. Sprinkles on
Right.
top of the ice cream cone of shit doesn't work. You can do all the right things, but if the
Right.
core unintegrated emotion is self-hatred, you will sabotage yourself every single time. And so
And
biggest
yeah.
work, the biggest work I
Mhm.
want to acknowledge you for is that you maybe didn't come into, I love my body this way, but you
Right.
stopped hating and you
Yeah.
came into allowance. Even if you didn't prefer or like, you
Mhm.
stopped the resistance and you came into communion and you said, hi, hi.
Yeah.
And then from that point, clunk. Just like you said in that journey in Mexico, you
Yeah.
relaxed. Well, you relaxed your internal war zone
Yes.
into a truce. And then things have been more elegant and shifted with far more ease. Yeah,
And as life goes on, we still get triggered, right? And we still have those traumas that we didn't know that we were hiding. And
sure.
just recently, so just a recent one that I talked about with you was family. I
Right,
went to a family reunion and
right.
like, holy cow, like just little snide remarks here, little things here, things that weren't meant to like make me feel this way. Like all of a sudden, I remember I had a moment, but the difference is I wasn't
Yes.
freaking out and going like, why am I freaking out? I sat down and I cried. I
Yep.
allowed my body to cry in the
Yep.
shadows, if you will. But I allowed her to cry and I sat there and I'm like, all right, what am I feeling?
Yeah.
What is it that you're trying to tell me? What are we
Yes.
either reliving or, all that? And all of it came down to like, oh shit, I'm still 10.
Mm.
Oh shit, I'm still 10. And I come from so I live in Colorado now, but when I was younger, I was in Tennessee and you come out to Colorado. And if anybody knows anything about Colorado, you can't breathe if you try to go up mountains and stuff like right away. Like you have to acclimate. And so they would take me on these trips immediately from the airport.
Mm.
So I'm already feeling 10. I can't walk up the hills. I can't walk up. I'm going through pre-puberty. And so I've gained a little weight. And it was in those moments that I just felt I internalized these discussions that I'm not athletic. So I just won't play. I can't walk up the mountain. I'm overweight. I like nobody wants me on their team. I literally sat in that moment and I'm almost 40 people. Okay. And I
Mm.
sat in that moment and that shadow while my stepmom was taking care of the kids, which is so nice of her and lovely. I love that she does that. And I had my moment and I sat there and I realized that I was 10 and I let her come out
Mm-hmm.
and I let her have her say. And I hugged her and I
Yeah.
loved her.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
Yep.
I was able to talk about what was happening because then all my family was like, oh my God, what's wrong with her? But
Nothing.
I was able to come out and talk about that. I was like, I
Yes.
literally was reliving. This is what triggered me. It's up to me to handle my triggers.
Yes.
I'm not going to change you as a person. I know you didn't mean what like I understand that.
Yes.
It's up to me. And I've
Yes.
learned that with you.
Ownership. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to own your own triggers. You're responsible for the way that you react. You're responsible for understanding what's going on.
Yeah. But you didn't, this is the key. You didn't judge yourself. You got quote unquote
No.
rejected. Your experience of
Mhm.
others' behavior was that you
Yes.
got rejected, but this time you didn't reject yourself. So you had
Right.
ownership, but not
Yes.
self-judgment. And then that brought in the communion on the inside, which allowed for the emotional integration to happen. And you got your autonomic nervous system back down to zero so that you could communicate effectively,
Yeah.
and probably as an inspiration, regardless of how they reacted or responded. They
Right.
saw a different Amanda who didn't hide, react, judge, blame, contract, all the different things. Like you evolved right before their very
Yeah.
eyes. Well done.
Thank you. It was quite lovely because it didn't last all reunion, right? Like I didn't hold on to it for weeks later or
Right.
whatever. I was able to get it and get it done and feel it right then. And the rest of the reunion was lovely and fabulous.
Correct. And remember how sometimes when we go on these Allana Pratt Method coaching calls that we have every week with our
Yeah.
coaches, when you came back from that, you communicated more in less words because,
Right.
in my opinion, you were speaking from your core. You were speaking from your pussy. You were speaking from your heart. You were speaking from the integrated self, the
Yeah.
soul. You weren't speaking from the mind. And so, ever since that big integration that you did all by yourself, you
With
have
the way you
become,
taught me. Yeah. So
well,
yes.
thank you. But so the
Yeah.
work works, but you have become an even more potent communicator, saying more with less words. And
Yeah.
it's stunning. You're stunning. Well done.
Thank you.
Mm,
So lovely. Thank you.
mm.
Would you want to go into maybe some questions that
Sure.
like some of your viewers and listeners have come? Because I know you have this thriving podcast called Intimate Conversations, and you have about 5.6 million viewers on your YouTube channel, just known as Allana Pratt. So you get a lot of questions. You get
Mm,
a lot of questions from people around the world. So here's a few that I've gathered, and I'll just popcorn maybe a couple of these. So first one is for the older men out there. They want to know like what are some dating tips for older men?
mm. The first one comes to mind is love your cock, which is kind of naughty. There, in my experience, tends to be a lot of emasculation that has happened in various relationships in the
Mm,
past that have made men that are older feel like a coward or not good enough or emasculated or not sexy, or they had erectile issues, or they lost their job, or who knows, she left him, or he had an affair, or whatever the things were. He hasn't integrated shame,
yeah.
and he's trying to have a good attitude, not cry, but it's affecting his literal potency to penetrate the world with his glory and his grandeur. It turns into how he is energetically dating with women, not as potent, not as direct, not as certain, not as present, not as aware, a little timid, so holding back. So in the loving of the cock is definitely love your cock, but also love your ability to penetrate the world with the gift that you're here to give, the purpose that you're here on the planet. So another way of saying that is do your inner work of the wounds from past relationships so that you actually come into the dating world present. Number two, a lot of times when that hasn't happened, older men look to something on the outside to feel good enough. Oh, if she's 20 years younger, then I must be a great guy. Or if I have all the millions, or look at my new sports car, or these are sort of typical ways of trying to overcompensate for a feeling of inadequacy that comes across as arrogance or shallowness. So again, back to the basics. Do your inner work so that who you're attracting isn't trying to fill a void, but they're an ideal match for who you are. And I'd say lastly, I could probably go on. I think I did like 7 of these videos. So go into Instagram, you'll see like a huge long series of them. But the last one I would say is like, love your body. If you're older dating, you don't want to like be looking to the grave as you like, well, we got a good 5 years and then we'll die. No, get healthy, get healthy. Take care of your weight, take care of your supplements, take care of your body, and also take care of your vision. Like, okay, so maybe you're not working or you're retired. What are you excited about? What do you want to, embrace and risk and try and grow? And so, because that's attractive. If you are the train, if you're the train, we want to get on the train and the train's not even going to leave the station and you're happy just watching football and sitting around, nothing's wrong with football. But a conscious woman is going to want to get on a train of evolution, growth, expansion, not just more of the same, unless you want to attract somebody who's looking to you to save them. If you don't want to go anywhere or grow and you're staying put, don't be upset if you attract somebody who might want to use you for your money and just, have you save them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I can see that. Oh, well, I hope all of the older men that are listening like totally take that, because it is true. It's very attractive to see someone who wants to learn and be better in whatever category that looks like. That is so attractive. My husband now, because of you, now has a group of men, that he actually, gets to spend time with.
Yeah.
This last weekend, for the first time, and since he got out of the military, his military buddies decided to get together. Brandon was like, I'd like to go. I was like, please. So he saw 10 of his ex-military buddies for a weekend in Alabama.
Oh my
like,
God,
that's
so
amazing.
Yes.
I know. But it is so sexy and attractive when somebody's asking growth questions.
Yeah.
I remember when he first started doing that, I was like, who are you? And please stay. I don't want the other one back. Stay, ask the questions, be curious, be curious about yourself, take care of your body. It's all coming together. So I love that. I love that. And I hope, please take it. And if you need help, there's Allana.
Call me. Yeah. I'll just say one last thing about what you just said, because you're so right. A man who can't take constructive criticism or doesn't want to be willing to be wrong, because that means I could be stronger and learn more and evolve more. And they're defensive, or they justify, or they can't be with, I'm perfectly imperfect. So unattractive. Because basically that makes us have to just be perfect and fake, because you can't, everybody's just going to be fake around here. And no, it's not attractive. But a man that's like, whoa, thanks for pointing that out. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to bring that to my men's group. I'm going to go journal about that. I'm going to go into silence about that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to
go talk to other men
who
are on the same journey. Because your community will help you be whoever you want to be. So I wouldn't just talk to your divorced alcoholic friend or whatever, but somebody who's on the same path as you, who wants to be as enlightened, who may not have all the answers, but is willing to listen to you as you're like, my wife did this thing and I don't understand it. And she said this, help.
And notice as you get on the path, but if you don't want to grow, do you hang out with all the people that gossip and blame and don't do the work and drink too much and have the exact same issue so you can commiserate about how horrible your life is? Or are you terrified to go around people who will actually call you on your shit, who actually see you and don't judge you, but will not put up with anything less than your greatest soul? Like, are you resisting hanging out with them? Like, take some ownership in that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, now we're going to get into, let's do the woman's side of things.
Okay.
So here's a question that says, my husband wants sex more than I do,
Mm,
and he wants to do things that I don't want to do. How
mm,
would you handle that in a marriage?
mm. Take many, many steps back. So it sounds like it's too much too fast, and you're going into fear. And so
Mhm.
it's your job to speak up and say, slow down, or to create going for a walk in a park and saying, tell me something about you and your fears around sexuality. Tell me something about you and your desires, your fantasies around sexuality. Like get into more communication, slow everything down, integrate your fears, and then share that with your partner in a way that they can hear. So dyads are tell me something, and then the other person just says thank you. They don't get to interrupt or rebut
Yeah.
or any of these kind of things. So you might be able to say, so I would just like some foreplay. I just can't, you want more sex, but I'm just not ready. If you would just give me a massage for 20 minutes and stay away from my nipples, stay away from my yoni, I would open like a flower and want sex every day. But I just can't go 0 to 60. So I
Right.
shut like this little bud, a flower bud closed all the time. But really, I do want sex. That's just, and if he's never heard that before, he's like, well,
Yeah.
I can do that. Or you have to realize your partner isn't generous. They just want
Yeah.
what they want and they're a taker, not a giver. Like you're going to realize some very core truths, but hopefully it's just that he didn't have the path to win.
Yeah.
And now that he has the path of what it's going to take for you to open, he's more than happy to give you pleasure and then share in that pleasure together.
Yeah. I think a lot of men are just kind of unaware of like they just want the end result. They want the Z, but they have to go through all the other letters for us, you know?
Yes.
Um, I know with Brandon, that's been a conversation for us. Is I definitely like back massages and just, comb my hair. I know, but I and be touched throughout the day. That
Yes.
isn't necessarily a sexual hug. I
Yes.
remember you gave us a homework assignment. Was it 6 seconds or 20 seconds or
Yeah.
something?
Both sides of the day. Yep.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I didn't realize I also heard another study that like that's the time frame that you need for oxytocin, which is the love hormone, to kick
Yes.
in.
Yes.
You
Yes.
need
Yes.
those 6 second kisses or those 20-second hugs
Mhm.
outside of the bedroom. And I think just
Correct.
getting used to that and letting them know, especially if they're open, which
Yeah.
I would think most men are, but like you
Yeah.
said, if they're not willing to do the work like we just talked about, then that's a whole nother conversation to have. But um, that's great.
Yeah.
Just talk dyads. So if you need to learn more about dyads, once again, Alana's great with the dyads, and they're really great. I love dyads because I know that when I say my piece, they're not allowed to say anything. Just thank you.
Yes.
And then you ask the question and then they get to say kind of like their thing. But
And
it's less heated, right? Like it's just
yes.
like sharing. Here's
Yes.
what I'm actually seeing and feeling. And
Yes.
um, like they don't get to say, well, that's bad or whatever. They just get to say, thank
Thank
you
you.
for
Right. Yeah.
telling me that.
It teaches non-judgment. It teaches
Yeah.
to seek understanding, not the
Mhm.
solution. It
Yeah.
teaches you to be curious, and it
Yeah.
teaches you to sit in the fire when you notice you can't be with what their share is making you feel.
Hmm.
Get to process. There's so many layers to this that are extraordinary. And
Yeah.
same with those 6 to 20 second hugs. You're not just in and out. You're in potato, two potato, three potato. No, you're
Yeah.
not. You're still there. Four, five
Yeah.
potato. And then your bodies begin to melt. And then you begin to be more present and you get to really feel what's true. Again,
Yeah.
slowing down what's going on inside of me. And then you could add in something you appreciate about one another. Um,
Yeah.
and and then
That's
and
a
then
good one.
break the hug. But yeah,
And not to say that when you start, it's not awkward. Because if you're not doing it and all of a sudden you're doing it, you probably do the one potato, two potato, three potato. But like, just like anything else that's new and awkward, it's going to be awkward first, and then you're going to do it again, and then you're going to do it again. And then it's just going to be a part of your day. You're going to have your hug before he leaves for work or you leave for work, and you're going to have your hug at the end of the day or
mm,
in the middle of the day or whatever. Like, it's just going to be like, I see that you need me to hold you. Like, it's, like we just walk around and all of a sudden I'm like, I want a hug. And so I'll just go over and he'll just hug me. We'll just hug for a minute. And
you
it's
know,
nice. And you talk about that calming of your nervous system down.
yes,
It's that
yes.
connection piece.
Oh,
And all of
yes,
a sudden I'm like, I can take a breath now. Whereas before, I didn't even realize I was holding my breath
Right. And
until we were hugging.
your
Yeah.
radiance doesn't come through, which is how he feeds off of your joy or beauty, right? Is your
Yeah.
radiance. That doesn't come through when we're holding our breath. That doesn't come
Yeah.
through when our autonomic nervous system is jacked up. So this radiance comes through. And I'm remembering we do in the inner circle, we do these deep dives once a quarter. And I'm remembering this couple. He never came into coaching and he never came to a retreat either, but she did. But they were talking and I just asked him, what did I ask him? Could you just hold her? And he held her kind of like patty cake, like, or no, I said, touch her. And he's like patting her. And I said, and I did my best not to go, what the fuck? And so I just went, could you just go slower, just a little
Yeah.
slower? And she'd never asked and he'd never provided. And so she didn't like to have sex. Well, because it was very mechanical, but nobody taught him. So here I was on Zoom with all these other people. And I said, just slower, almost like she's like cashmere or like a really
Yeah.
soft animal. And he started to like stroke her more slowly and you could see her start to melt. And then he pulled away, I go, no, that's only 3 seconds. Let's do it a little longer. And she started to sob
Yeah.
and started to melt into his body. And then get this, then the 5-year-old came over and snuggled in with the two of them, and everyone lost their shit because
Yeah.
that's the energy of a couple who's connected in the home. Is it safe for the kids? They don't
Yeah.
even know what's missing, but they feel it when it's there. Yeah, I think there was silence for a good 20 or 30 seconds as we all sobbed. And
Yeah.
that moment changed their marriage forever. Yeah.
It's crazy with just not even talking, just quietly
Being,
touching. Yeah.
being.
Being together.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really is. It's priceless, honestly. It is life changing because
Yeah.
I mean, that's what helps us.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's awesome. All
Mhm.
right, let me see what else we got here. Um, let's see, let's do okay, so we're talking about this. So let's talk about I have a question that says, what are simple lifestyle changes to boost the libido? So if you're having a hard time, what kind of things can you do just for you personally that
Mm.
doesn't maybe involve your partner just to get your libido up and your feeling your sexuality? Like what kind of things would you say to help in
Yeah.
that department? Maybe both for men and women.
Yeah, yeah. So for the masculine energy, which is both in a woman and in a man, but if we're going for polarity here and we're just going to say that the man is more masculine and the woman is more feminine energetically, which isn't obviously always the case, but just for this example, when's the last time he was really challenged to go farther than he normally would go? And that could be around a workout, keeping his word. How many times did you like have sex with your woman this week? If you didn't, you've got to mow my lawn and take my kids to the park. Like, like consequences, like challenge,
Yeah.
masculine challenge is very important. And it makes you feel like on your edge. It makes you feel like sexy for no reason. And it really
Mm,
boosts your penetrative qualities because look what you did. If you can do that, you can do anything. Another thing is silence for men. We, as the feminine, tends to get more juicy around other women and
yeah.
dancing and static movement and adorning ourselves. Like that'll just get us going, but that'll get more of a man's feminine going if he's creatively blocked and he's just really in his head. Then dance in the forest with men and do your drumming and put war paint on you and go do that. That'd be more of your feminine energy. But for the masculine energy, like silence, stillness, spend the night in the woods. Just
My
don't
husband
talk.
loves that. Yeah.
Does Brandon like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will really boost your ability to be with anything, be consciousness itself, be awareness itself. And nothing will that unchanging energy that won't let the kids' craziness take you off center. So you'll have that libido to fuck your woman to God, basically. So that's like masculine libido, feminine libido. Circles. Like,
Mm,
even though I love my paddleboarding, that's still very linear. And my hips don't move side to side. It's like straight ahead. So it's more like circles, dancing, as I said, adornment, and all the flavors of the feminine, not just sexy, but allow your
yeah.
goofball, your dork, your
Mm,
dangerous, want to cut his head off. Where's my voodoo doll? It could be like light and fairy. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be, you don't have to try to be sexy to get your libido going. It's more about all these different flows of energy. Maybe you want to be shy and coy. Maybe you want to be very alluring and seductive and slow. Maybe you want to just crawl around on your knees rather than stand up. Maybe you want to wear stilettos or your stripper shoes or what have you.
Yeah.
But I would say think in circles, think in expression, think in movement, think in sisterhood, think in like
Mm,
nature, chocolate, glass of wine. All these will juice you up by going out with your girlfriends, and a lot of staying out of the head, not a lot
yeah.
of chit chatting, because you could go
Right.
out with all the women and go out for your glass of wine and gossip about all the guys and come home cranky as fuck and you don't want
Mhm.
any sex at all. So stay out of the head and stay a lot
Yeah.
more in the body, a lot more in feelings. If you are going to
Mhm.
talk about anything, it would be about like, show, you could do a little assignment like show us how you feel about a sunset over the lake. Show me in your body, right?
Yeah.
Or feed each other. That's another one. I remember having lunch with two, they were both named Linda and Linda, and I brought Nutella and strawberries. That was my contribution to lunch, and I cut them up, and the idea was to feed each other a piece of strawberry scooped in Nutella and say, the beauty I see in you is, and feed your sister and and fill her up with praise
Mm.
and deliciousness. And I remember that lunch till this very day. One of the Lindas told me, she said, you are a goddess of the people. You're so relatable and you're so willing to shine. And it changed my life forever. And had I not brought that ritual, that moment
Yeah.
might have never occurred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Oh, I know I have my girlfriends that I miss that we just don't hang out as much as we used to, but I do. Um, we would have once again music and song is like my life, and so we would have like karaoke nights in our PJs
Nice.
before we all had kids. Although now I'm like maybe we should do it like with the kids, like have the kids over and like do that some night because we just loved it. Hair bro. I mean, we were in our 30s. Well, one of my friends was probably in her 20s, but I was probably in my 30s. And yeah, we're still just embracing that
Expression.
childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Innocence.
enlightened, just that being, I just felt more alive,
Yeah.
which is what increases that like libido to express, like with, like, oh, I'm feeling me. And now I want to feel me with you. Right.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so that's actually really cool. I don't know if I've ever, I can see it from that perspective now. I didn't realize that though,
Mm,
that
mm.
like we need those moments. I think that's probably why I work at a cabaret. So I'm a host at the Clock Tower Cabaret in Denver and I love it. I don't perform, but I'm around the performers.
Right, right.
And I love their energy and their radiance and I love all the different body types and all the different styles because it just reminds me I can be alive in whatever form I'm in.
Thank you. Oh, that's brilliant. Do you
Yeah.
remember in the retreat in Arizona before we had the salon and all of us women danced? We didn't talk for an hour. We danced, we moved, we had circles, we danced with each other, and the men did something competitive. And then we
Yeah.
came in and the men sat on one side and the women, I wouldn't even say sat. They lounged. All of a sudden became liquid on the couch. They sat very differently than they had in other sections of the retreat. And the women said very little, they had been
Hmm.
emptied out of words, not by
Yeah.
talking, but by dancing and
Hmm.
moving. And they shut the fuck up. And it was amazing what the men would share because we didn't keep interrupting.
Yeah.
And they just kept sharing. And the next one shared, and the tears started coming down the face of the women. I remember remember Tweety said, I had no idea this is who men are. I've never
Oh,
met. Do you remember that? It changed her life
yeah.
forever.
No, I remember because like that's when Brayden finally like
Opened
became
up.
a part of the group, if you
Yep.
will.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
you were just like, "Who are you?" I remember you were just like, "Okay, he has things to say." I'm like,
yes.
and he totally does. It's finally that he got he did the activity and
Yep.
felt more into who he was. He was like,
Right.
"Oh, right.
And we
I'm
created
here."
space for him to
Yeah.
talk. And we were this
Yes.
radiant liquid
Yeah.
love on the couch, all of us sisters laying with each other. And
Yeah.
so they were drinking in our beauty and our radiance and our pleasure when we weren't doing it to turn them on. We didn't have an
Right.
agenda. We just
Right.
were
Yeah.
beauty herself, pleasure herself, femininity herself. We were just in our body. We weren't in our head. And that, look at how that woke them up, and they shared so much, and the brotherhood got stronger. And we were just like amazed by the wisdom and the truth and the heart and the soul of these
And
glorious men.
I think because of that exercise, because then what happened to me not too long after that was when I had a huge breakthrough about, because that dance triggered me.
Yes, yes.
I remember like because we were moving in our bodies, and that was something that was really hard for me at that
That was
time.
shameful for you. Yeah.
It was very shameful for me. And
Yeah.
so he came back and he had like, got his inner core and his man on, if you will. And I
Mm.
do think that because of that, he was able to hold space for me when I was having like
Yep.
my moment of like,
Yep.
I guess you could call me freaking out or whatever, but I was having a moment of like realization. My body was having its reactions to all
Yep.
of that. And he was holding my hand. And I remember him. I remember Tweety. I remember you
I
were
was
in
in front
front
of
and
you.
Christine was in, and that's it.
Yep.
That's all that existed in my world at that
Yep.
time.
Yep. We
There
all
were
had you.
lots of other people in the world or in the room, and they were watching, but in that moment,
You were held.
I was held. And I think it's actually important that he was holding. So, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like the right side's the masculine and the left side's the feminine. And he was on my left side and he was holding that part of me with his masculine side for my feminine side and like holding that space that I
Yeah.
didn't think I was worthy of before, or just was having these like moments of like, oh, it's okay to be sexy. I mean, I was going way back.
Yes, you were.
So
We went lifetimes back, but it
we
was,
went lifetimes back, but it was
I so
beautiful.
acknowledge you, because held in your body was shame of your sexuality and your body, this life and others.
Yeah.
And we can't have a cognitive analysis. Well, let's get rid of that. Like, you can't do
Yeah.
that. You have to
Right.
feel. There's no way through but through. You have to
Mhm.
feel and allow the body to feel through all of it. And I facilitated, and your
Yes.
husband was there. And I've trained our community that there's never anything wrong, ever.
Right.
We don't judge people. Emotions are beautiful and everybody has them. And this is a safe space for everybody to feel whatever the hell they're going to feel. And I will facilitate us home. And then, so everyone was watching, and you gave everyone else permission to go deeper than they've ever gone before. You just like friggin' up leveled that whole retreat, didn't plan it at all, right out of left field. And I was like, I said to the dance teacher behind her, like it all just fell into place. Like your
Yeah.
soul had asked for it, and we were there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that because I remember everyone was talking about how lovely like all the experiences that they had, and I was like, "Oh," and do you remember me going like, I'm about to flip the script," and you were like, "Okay,
Bring it.
let's go," and I didn't know it was going to go like that far, but I totally I still have those images of like what I was seeing like while we were all together, and I still see, and it's like this hair look, I've been letting it grow out. So I saw like this vision of like long dark hair
Yes, I
and
remember you saying that.
dancing.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And I still have that vision of like, oh, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can dance and I can dance in a way that feels my body, and some will view it as sexual and some will view it as beautiful, and none of that matters. This
Right.
all matters on like how I'm moving in my body
Yeah. And
and how I
loving
feel in my
you.
body. Yeah,
Yes. This is so good. This is so
yeah.
good.
I
Oh,
loved it.
I love this work that we do. It works.
You know, it
Oh,
really does. It really
yeah.
does.
I'm aware of the time and that I have another
Okay,
call coming. Could we do one juicy one or two little ones? And
let's
then
see.
I could talk to you for another hour.
Okay,
I love you. Maybe we should do part two later. But
okay. Let's see. Let's do one about partners, about trying to attract like partners. So
hmm,
this person says, I've tried everything and I still attract, like we were talking about, emotionally unavailable partners.
hmm.
I would say I would add on to that. They're probably asking like, why is that?
Yeah, why is that? Yeah. Um, Across the board, when we can only attract our mirror. We can
Mm,
only attract the level of consciousness, our frequency that we are at. I hated that I kept attracting these angry people because I didn't want to own or find the amount of anger that I actually had, not so much towards others, it was towards myself. So we always create this. So if you're attracting emotionally unavailable people, it's because on some level you have not yet become emotionally available to yourself. You're probably living in your head, not in your body. and you probably deem some of your emotions as good and some of them as bad. And you've pushed away the ones that are bad, and you're not available. We can call it to little you, who's scared,
Mm-hmm.
ashamed, hates herself, hates men, hates women, hates mom. I don't know what, terrified, panicked,
Yeah.
doesn't want to let go of control, terrified of the unknown. Something's going on that you haven't quite come home to that part of you yet, because it's showing up in the mirror of people who can't quite be inside of them. So then you've got two
Mm,
people who can't be inside of them. There's no hope in hell you can be that with the other. So
right.
the path is to do work like this. And I don't know when you'll see this interview, but we have this wonderful Become the One Mastery. We have a Find the One Mastery. We have all sorts of, with these 10 Allana Pratt Method processes that you've been trained in, to go inside and find the unintegrated fear, shame, sadness, anger, all these different emotions, pain on the inside.
Yeah.
And when those get integrated, you become emotionally available as a frequency, as an embodiment, as a vibration. And so you'll be able to notice, oh, they're not emotionally unavailable. Nice biceps, nice bank account. Sorry, no, I'm not gonna date you. And then
Yeah.
somebody who might be 2 or 3 inches shorter than you thought, or doesn't live in the state that you thought. But my God, those communications are direct, present. He's curious. He's not trying to be interesting. He's interested. Oh my God. And when
Mm,
I had an emotion, he didn't change the subject. He said, wow, thank you for being so real with me. Like, you'll notice a different flavor because you are treating yourself that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can actually say I've seen that happen
Mm.
with one of our lovely people that is also a coach, has been going through the classes with me. I've seen that happen for her in her current relationship. So do the work because the work
Oh,
works.
isn't it wonderful to see how happy she is?
It's so amazing. I love how baffled she gets sometimes still. She's like, I'm not used to this. And it's like, good.
Yeah.
Get used to it because it's like you're worth it and you're worthy of it. And just to see her come out of like one relationship that was super not healthy to like where she is now with this person who she's attracted the healthy part,
Yeah.
who's interested in her and curious and asks the questions and goes slow when she wants to go slow and fast when she wants to go, like just is right there with her. I love hearing about it. So
Me too.
I love it. Yeah.
Me
So
too.
it works. It works. It so works.
It does.
Okay, let's see. Oh, here's an interesting. I mean, yeah, here's an interesting. So, what is a low relationship IQ? What are some of the signs?
Great question. Um, a low relationship IQ would be somebody who's not, I think, attuned to your emotions, your needs, doesn't really want to communicate, doesn't want to create a we, more of like a me,
Mm,
they're more in the me.
hmm.
And so they're trying to, you're fulfilling some need that they're taking, but they're not really in that figure eight of giving back, nor do they want to grow better in that capacity, nor do they care about being more together. 1 plus 1 is infinity. They're like, I'm a little half broken. You're a little half broken. You'll complete me. Don't change. You're the source of
Mm,
my worth and safety, right? Or
yeah,
money or whatever. So that would be, I'd say, low relationship IQ. High relationship IQ is, I'm whole. I'm so not perfect, but I'm whole.
yeah,
It's not your job to save me or make me happy. It's mine. I take ownership of everything. And from the overflow, I'd love to be a stand for your soul's highest evolution. I'd love to
yeah,
be that mirror that believes in you when you don't. I'd love to give of more of my joy, my radiance, my creativity, my enthusiasm, my strength, my whatever. And I'd like to also be vulnerable and receive. What do you see in me? How can I be more? How can I receive your insights? And may they awaken these dormant evolutionary qualities in me so that I'm more because of us being together and receiving it in a way that I only let you in. Only let you into that
yeah,
really dark place. And I let you see my shadows, and you love me there. And I love you there. And we're more together. Like, that to me is a higher conscious relationship, which takes, you never get there. So that's going to be a way of life. That's going to be
yeah,
a
for
lifestyle.
sure.
That's going to be a way that you evolve through not having kids, and then empty nesters, and maybe changing jobs, or health issues, or parents get sick. Like, there's going to always be something
Always something.
that's going to challenge you. So do you keep doing the work as you evolve deeper, wider, grander, broader together?
Yeah. Well, that
Yeah.
was good.
Thanks, honey.
I know. I was like, that's pretty good. So hopefully you're looking for those signs. And they
Mm,
are out there. And I know that some women can be like, oh, there's no guys out there like that. Yes, there are.
Yes, there are. It
Yes, there
happens
are.
to our clients all the time.
All
And
the time.
they tend not to be the obvious ones of the old pattern. So let
Right.
go of the point of view that you think you know who he or she is. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Stay
Yeah.
open and be in a community where this is reflected back to you, because your energy will shift when you're around somebody that's good for you, and your
Yeah.
energy will shift when you're not. Yeah.
It's funny. Like, when me and Brandon started dating so many years ago, I remember, I was at that point in my life where we got married young, but I had been through a bad breakup and I just didn't want a relationship. And we became friends first. And then I remember we were at a party and I had a friend who was like, "Oh, he's cute." And I'm like, "Yeah, you can have him." Like, because I wasn't there yet. Like, I wasn't
Yeah.
ready, but we just hung out every day. And he wasn't what at the time, would I have called, like, maybe what I have picked out at that time.
Yeah.
But the more we got into knowing each other and the more like fun we had and the silliness and all the things, like then we just never left each other's side. He even
Mm.
went to Iraq for a year and we were
Right.
still able to get through that together.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I guess I shouldn't be super shocked that we are where we are, but they are out there, like men who want to stay married, men who want to work on themselves, men who are working on themselves that aren't
Oh,
even connected yet. Like they're out there.
oh, for
It's
sure.
happening, people. Like we're seeing more men be fathers. We're seeing more men step up and be
Yeah. Yeah.
leaders in their home,
Yeah.
not in a dictatorial type of way, but in a
No.
teamwork type of
Yeah.
way of like, how do we do this together and talking about it together and
Yep.
finances together and children
Yep.
together? Like
Yeah.
we're seeing it. So it is out there for sure.
Men are doing the work too, not just in their masculinity, but in
Yeah.
their femininity, and in the integration of both of them, and truly stepping into, I'm a man, and I'm so inspired by Brandon.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired by you, goddess. I'm going to go get myself a little snack before I move into my next call.
Okay. Sounds
I
good.
appreciate you so much. You're an extraordinary interviewer. You're a huge gift to my life.
Thank you.
I am inspired by you, and
This has been fun.
I'm so glad. Any of you that want
Yeah.
to learn more, I'm Allana Pratt. So AllanaPratt.com.
Yes.
There's lots of
And you're on what social medias?
all of them. Instagram
Okay.
and YouTube are the main ones that I'm on. But I'm on every single one of them.
And
And
it's just Allana Pratt, nothing else for the Instagram, like
no,
at
yep,
Allana Pratt. Okay,
no,
perfect.
yep, Allana Pratt. And if you'd like to connect with me and talk about the work that Amanda and I speak of, it's called an intimacy breakthrough experience, and you can register for that right on our site, AllanaPratt.com. So I just want to give you a hug. Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you.
Bye.
I'll see you later today, sweetheart. Much love.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. I friggin' loved that conversation. Isn't she amazing? To see where she's come when she first came to me with her husband, and where their marriage is now, and now she's a coach, and now like we didn't talk about this I don't think on the podcast, but she got a job at the school where she wants her kids to go. Like everything's falling into place. Her relationship with her body and loving her sensuality, like so much. Just the work works. I'm so grateful, and I'm having to walk my talk right now as we complete this podcast. I'm about to begin my 1 month sabbatical. I'm in the pit stop of staying with clients, waiting for this 1 month rental to become available on Sunday. So my overgiving nature is to stay and take care of everybody and make sure everybody's okay. And they're my clients. I should give them extra sessions, all these things. And so I'm really proud of myself. I'm on my way to the chiropractor, the acupuncturist, the cryo, and getting my toes done. And then I'm going to go back and give a private session to one of them. So anyways, I'm getting better at healthy boundaries. I'm getting better at self-care for me, not self-care always outwardly directed. How to be a better coach and a better person, and I'm about to go into 30 days of slowing down and taking care of me for me. It is time I walk my talk even more. And indeed, the work works when we slow down and when we listen and when we ask for help. It was very humbling for me to ask my clients for help of what to do, that I was so stressed with the hurricane and all the things that were going wrong with the property I was staying at, to be transparent and say, help, what should I do, was on one hand terrifying, but on the other hand was so nourishing to them that they could give back and help me and utilize all their guidance and intuition and care for another, to let the figure 8, the infinity symbol, come all the way back to the beginning. So this is a safe community. This is an extraordinary community. This is a community where literally we're quantum entangled and we're more together. And so if you would like to connect with me, it's called an Intimacy Breakthrough Experience. And we will have a good hour together to really talk about what matters. Yes, my love. Thank you, Waze. We'll talk about what really matters so that you can do the inner work to shift your relationships with yourself, with your body, with your beloved, and allow your life with a beautiful community to thrive. All right, thanks for being with us on Intimate Conversations. I love you so much.